Thank you, Carl, and welcome everyone to this session on e-commerce. But I'm not going to do only e-commerce. I'm going to expand on other aspects of what are the key ingredients if you are thinking of getting online and developing e-commerce. So the key question I suppose you need to start off by asking is, does your organization need to be online? If it's online, brilliant. And if it's not online, what are the key things that you need to think about, you understand, in terms of how you connect with your customers? So I'm going to walk you through some of the key things, give a brief definition, and then go through the stages that you need to decide whether you need to create an e-commerce section for you. So what is e-commerce? So let's start off with what e-commerce is. So according to Google, e-commerce is the activity of electronically buying or selling products or online services over the internet. What this essentially means is that any business you conduct online that requires you to pay for a product or service can be considered e-commerce. So if you order your shopping from Tesco's or Morrison's online, that's e-commerce. If you order your products via Amazon, that's e-commerce. The Uber Eats and the takeaways that you use, e-commerce. And of course, Netflix and your Amazon Prime services, that's all e-commerce. So anything that there's a transaction between yourself and a company, be that you're purchasing services or physical products, that's e-commerce. So let me walk you through as well what social media is, because if you're thinking of having an e-commerce component to your website or delving into it, there's several ways in which you can do it. One is that you could either have a physical website that you drive traffic to and purchase, and consumers or companies can engage with you, or you create a social media platform that now allows you to not only engage with the community, but also to do e-commerce. So let's walk through what a social media is. So social media are interactive platforms that facilitate the creation, the sharing or exchange of ideas or information or career or interest through this platform. And what's important is that the impact of social media transcends almost every aspect of our daily life, from work, politics, breaking news, to much more. Social media activity is so much more than ever before, and I would say it's been brought on more by the plethora of social media platforms, and of course the pandemic, because due to the pandemic, a lot more persons are online, they're interacting. Even the Zoom call that we're having now is a relationship with social media that we're planning. So social media as a platform is almost universally used by brands to engage with buyers across the entire customer lifecycle. Having a presence in social media channels is no longer an option for brands, it's essential. So it should be the same for yourself as well. So if you don't have a website and you don't have any social media platforms that you use, there's always email marketing. What is email marketing? So email marketing is an act of communicating typically with a group of people using email to connect and engage. Now, most of you who may not have a website or who have not really gone into social media, this would be the first place to start. And the reason I say that is that almost like about 90% of the UK population has an email address. So even though they may not be on some of the social media platforms, they certainly have an email address. And if they've come to your organization before, if you've been in contact with them at any stage, email marketing is an excellent way in which to connect with them. And the good thing about email marketing is that there's quite a lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of like online platforms that you can use, such as MailChimp or 360, Pure 360. And what these platforms do, which is really good, is that they allow you to send emails, invitations, and reminders, but not just in a boring way that you'll send emails now. They allow you to create to create templates. And these templates you can use to add pictures or images or videos, and almost design it in a way that it almost looks like how can I say it, like a web page. So it's not just boring written text, but you have a way to engage more with your customers. The good thing about it is that you can send multiple emails. So it's not just a matter of sending one at a time. You can send multiple emails to a list of the customers that you would have had. And the templates allow you to get back rich data that you can use. So for example, you would know from the emails that you've sent out, let's say that you sent out 100 emails. From those 100 emails, it will be able to tell you who has opened those emails, what time they've opened it, and then it'll give you somebody's not mute. Light up.
Light up. Can I? Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah. So from that, so for example, as I was saying, if you have 100 people that have that you've emailed, and only 50 have opened it, the what you call it, the MailChimp software will be able to tell you these are the 50 that you need, and then you can send reminders to them. You don't have to keep bringing it out to the entire group. But a cautionary tale with email marketing, because of the GDPR and regulations. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulations. You can't just send random emails to any and anyone. You can't buy email lists and send them out to any, like before. That's kind of like illegal now. But what you can do is that once a person has made contact with your company or organization, I should say, and you have their email data, then you're free to make that email connections with them. And what's great about email marketing is that you can build beautiful email templates. Like I said, they look like small web pages. And the good thing about it is that you don't have to be internet savvy. You don't have to not learn anything about coding. It's basically just a drag and drop method. Input your pictures, input the videos, and create really nice presentations that you send them out. And the best part about it as well is that it's free. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on reaching your customers and getting to know them. So email marketing is very important if you don't have a website and you haven't got on to social media yet. So another thing I'd want to talk to you about is influencer. So an influencer or influencer marketing is a form of social media marketing involving endorsements and product placements from influencers. Now, although the term influencer may be new, the concept is established and is tried and tested. For example, most of you have heard of and know Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, before she did the Meghan and Harry interview recently, was known over the world. She had the Oprah Winfrey Show, and she used to have on a show a book club. And what was outstanding about her book club is that once Oprah recommended a particular book or added it to her book club, it almost overnight would enter the New York Times best readers list, the top reading list. So she had such an influence and impact from her show to be able to influence, for want of a better word, that's the word, influence people to go out and actually purchase that book. She also had almost, how can I say, it's like conversely to that, in 1997, I think she was sued by some Texas ranchers because she had a segment on her show where she was talking about mad cow's disease and how in the view of the person that was speaking with her about it, it came about. And they felt that mad cow disease came about that a lot of farmers were grinding down animal parts and basically feeding it to cows to kind of pump them up. And they felt that that had a direct correlation to obviously mad cow's disease. And during the show, Oprah commented that she didn't think she would ever want to eat beef again. And then the following year, the Texas ranchers wanted to take her to court because basically they said that her influence and her comments on her show cost them over 10 million in lost sales because people were influenced to stop eating beef. So not only can it have a positive impact, it can obviously have a negative impact if an influencer is saying negative things about your brand. Now, the reason I have this picture on your screen of this lady is that, you know, separate to Oprah Winfrey, which people know, separate to large celebrities, so like your Michael Jordan that brought out the Jordan trainers back in the 80s, you know, separate to all of those people that have influence because of their celebrity status. Individuals, such as the picture I'm sharing with you on screen, go on social media and basically create, how can I explain it? They create social media channels where they would maybe talk to you about makeup tips. So in this example, lady may show you how to do particular makeup tips, how to create dress sense, how to have a particular dress sense, and all of that. She then gets more followers. She'll get more people that will go onto her website, onto her social media platform, and as a result, companies would approach her and she would endorse their products and obviously make more sales from it. So a social media influencer is an ordinary person. They don't have to be an Oprah Winfrey, they don't have to be a big celebrity, that can use the platform to basically increase and gain a following by their expertise. Maybe it's makeup tutorials, maybe it's how to put on your nails, maybe it's fashion tips, whatever it is, they're using that. And in the process, they're getting a great following as well. And so if you're thinking of email e-commerce, again, you could maybe think of which celebrities or which influencers that you could use that could bring them traffic to your website. So hopefully that's given you an idea of the difference between what e-commerce, email marketing, social media, an influencer is. So let's move on. Why would you need a website or a social media account? Well, the important, I mean, most people think they know the answer, but the important thing to bear in mind is that you need these things is really to grow an online presence or to create an online community and generate awareness or sales. So if you're not looking to even sell products, you need to generate awareness around your organizations. But I will assume if you're talking about e-commerce, there needs to be some transaction that's going on. So let's move on and look at the advantages. Let me move this out of the way. Sorry, this is in my way. So if you desire to reach a wider group and a wider audience as a social enterprise, the great place to start is on social media or with a social media. The reason for that is that before you even, like I said, develop a website, is that it's low cost in the sense of it's free to create an account. And with most social media platforms, such as Facebook and Instagram, which I'm going to go into in a bit, in a while, is that you can obviously use it to sell your products and services as well. What's good about it is that it can be viewed and interacted with at a much faster rate than obviously an email would and all the rest of it. You can also use it to create connections quickly and organically. So let's move on. So how many ways can you use to present your brand online? So there are so many ways that you can use. Of course, you've got all the popular ones that you're aware of, like your YouTubes. There's also LinkedIn, there's Pinterest, there's Snapchat. But for the purpose of this webinar, we're only going to be concentrating on the top 5 social media platforms. So as I mentioned in this, there are many social media platforms, but below I'm highlighting the 5 top ones. So let's start with the one that's probably most widely used and very well known is Facebook. Most people know about Facebook. Facebook has been around probably the longest of all of these. And what's good about Facebook is that it's a community-driven social enterprise. It allows persons to connect with their family, with friends, with co-workers, and it's a fairly intimate social media platform. Intimate in the sense that you're sharing pictures of your family, of weddings, of births, of main occasions. And so, and the business benefits with that is that you can also create a Facebook business page, which you can then connect with these various communities of friends and families and co-workers. And once that connection is made, persons will then share it with other persons as well. Now, as I was saying, because Facebook has been around the longest, or in comparison to the other social media platforms, it tends to be more widely used by a demographic age group of over 40s, more in the 50 age group. And they seem to be more comfortable with that. And I suppose it's maybe habit that they're used to using that platform. And it basically can do everything that they want it to do in terms of connection with friends, business, and all the rest of it. Also, what's great about Facebook is that it has a marketplace on it. And if you're not familiar with that, that marketplace is basically taken over the I suppose the market reach that websites like Gumtree or Loot had, in the sense that persons could use it to buy and sell products on it. So if you've got, I don't know, a dining room table that you no longer use, you can put that up on Facebook Marketplace, and other persons who may be looking for a dining room table will come and see it and purchase it. So it's an excellent way to connect, not only from a business point of view, but from an individual place as well. Probably top of the list, I should have started with, is Instagram. Now, Instagram is the younger of the two. It's still owned by Facebook, but it's used mainly by the demographic groups of the 18 to 35, 40-ish. It's an extremely aspirational social media. So there's lots of great images. It's very visual, it's very motivational, it's extremely creative. So it's kind of sits well with that demographic, I would say, group. They've also, of course, got an e-commerce aspect to it as well. So people use it to buy and sell. So as I was explaining earlier about the social media influencer, so if that lady in the previous slide that I shared with you had an Instagram account, say, for example, she would use that to show makeup tips, and from those makeup tips, tell her followers where to get particular branded makeups, where she shops, and then get endorsements and payment from those companies as well. So it's a great way to use. And most people that use Instagram are within the age category that I've mentioned to you. The next one, the next social media platform that is worth knowing about is Twitter. And Twitter is an excellent platform because, how can I explain it? It allows you to send texts or tweets over the net, as I say. It's more of a conversational platform. So for example, someone may have an Instagram and a Twitter account. They may use the Instagram account to get maybe makeup tips or fashion tips and all the rest of it, but they'll use Twitter to find out what persons are saying about that particular company. They'll use Twitter to find out when a sale is happening with that particular company. So it's more of a conversational piece as well. And what's great about Twitter is that there's lots of discussions that are happening in the world that you may not hear about, how can I say, within the news ecosystem, but certainly Twitter will have discussions going along around there. And the good thing as well about Twitter is that it's not demographically specific. So regardless of your interest, Twitter would always send you information, I suppose maybe depending on your search history or the algorithms or the interest that you're shown, whereas Instagram tends to be specific to the areas that you're interested in. So for example, if you're interested in fashion and makeup and all the rest of it, all of the feeds that you get and the information will be related to those areas. Whereas if you're interested in fitness or healthy eating, most of the feeds and information you get will be related to that. Twitter isn't like that. It's a broader sphere. And depending on your search history and algorithms, you can have a wider reach of information that is shared with you that you can get to talk about. The next one that's similar like it is YouTube. YouTube is excellent, and I'm sure most of you have used YouTube. And what I like about YouTube is that it's non-age specific. So, you know, from, I don't know, young children to our grandparents will use YouTube, and there's a content that's relevant to what they find of interest. It could be based on their search history. It can be based on what they've watched before. The algorithms will always give you prompts and suggestions of like-minded or similar, I should say, videos for you to use. So, and also the good thing with YouTube is that it's a great way if you haven't got a website yet, and if you haven't got any other social media platforms, is a great way to introduce your company to a wider range of persons by creating really engaging videos that tells the viewer, the listener about your company. So it's an excellent way to do it. And I would suggest that there's lots of software again that allows you to put high quality YouTube videos together that looks very professional without you having to spend a lot of money. And most persons have a smartphone anyway, and most of the smartphones have very high quality video quality. So I would suggest you could use something like that. And for those persons that are looking to make a living creating high quality YouTube videos, then of course there's a monetized section. So there's persons that are on YouTube creating really interesting content. They've got a lot of subscribers, they've got a lot of followers that go to their channel. And of course, as a result of that, YouTube pays them. So that's a great platform for that. And finally, the youngest and the newest addition to the social media ecosystem is TikTok. TikTok is one of the latest additions, and I think it exploded during the pandemic. So from last year, really, with a lot of younger generations. So they call it the Generation Z. So those persons born around 2000, the millennium, the younger ones, bored at home, not doing anything, use TikTok to create really aspirational videos showcasing their dance talents or their musical talents or whatever. So it's a very engaging platform, but it's mainly targeting the younger generation. So depending on where you're looking to target, whether it's a demographic groups over 40, Facebook is great for that. If you're looking to target a group that's within the 18 to 35, then Instagram is great for that. And if you're obviously looking to have a conversation around your brand or your organizations, then Twitter and YouTube are great places for that. So I'm now going to stop right here. I'm going to ask Dara to put us into a little breakout room. And in the breakout room, what I'm going to ask everyone to do is to discuss which of the top 5 social media platforms your organization currently uses. So if they only use one, fine. If they use, more than one, then discuss this. And if they don't use any of them, that's fine as well. Which ones do you use or have you used? And I want you to be able to tell us what you like about them or what you don't like about them. So I'm going to ask Dara to break you off into groups. And when you come back, I'll ask someone to volunteer and just give us consensus of what they found which one social media platform most of the groups use, what they liked about it, and then we can continue with the rest of my presentation. Right, everyone, I hope you can see my screen. This is where we were last time. I'm now going to move on, as we've discussed. So for those of you who don't have a website, I'm saying no problem. The key to driving traffic to or getting persons to know about your organization is to really get involved in generating interest. So just like a website, social media platforms can grow if you feed them with engaging content and information about your audience to consume. So the mistake a lot of persons make, I've found, is that they're told once you have an organization, you need a website. So they go out and they spend money and they set up a website, and that's it. They don't do anything else to engage or to drive traffic to it. And that's a terrible thing to do. And equally, this conversation that we're having is that telling you that you need to have social media. You need to be on social media. And a lot of persons, again, go up and set up their social media accounts, and they just leave it like that. And they think that, you know, traffic is going to come to them or they're going to be engaged with the consumers. And it's not. It's very important that if you have a website or if you have a social media platform, that the key is essentially to generate interest, to do what's necessary to generate interest. So let me move on. So where to start is always the question I hear people ask. And rather than trying to, how can I say, try to be all things to all people, just start with the key ones. So as we've realized from the little straw poll that we just did and the feedback everyone's telling me, is, as I suggested, that TikTok being the newest of all of the social medias, it's more demographically attractive to Generation Z, the millennials, the younger persons. So if you have a business or an organization or products or service that's not catering to that demographic field, then it's not important that you're on there. You understand? And it's like everyone said, whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, it depends on who you're looking to target, because that will then determine how you present yourself in any of those platforms. So I would say start with your Facebook, your Instagram, and your Twitter, rather than trying to do all of it, because you're just not going to be able to manage it all. It makes no sense. So aim to have at least one of those platforms and use them to network and to tell your brand story. And I'm going to expand on that in a minute. So how do you build your brand on social media? So you start by telling your community, your followers, the person that you're trying to target, what your company does, what your organization does. What is it that, how can I say, the reason why you're created in the first place. So connect and engage with your customers and let them know your mission, be that your social mission or your commercial mission, why you came into existence, and constantly share this, whatever post you share around that content. And for any organization to survive, it's very important that they have a great team behind them. So be it that it's the founders or the staff or your volunteers. I'm sure these are great people that you have in your organization. And we all know that the most successful companies always have, staff that believe in what the mission is, believe in what they're trying to commit to and achieve. And so tell your listeners, tell your followers about your amazing team, what makes them stand out. And another way to build on social media platform is, why should people support you? Again, let them know some of the amazing work that you're doing. So let's say, for example, you're doing community outreach projects. Tell them about some of those projects. Have real life stories with individuals that you've helped, that you've impacted, that you've empowered, that you've been able to make a difference in their life. And as well as that, be seen in as many different platforms and spaces as possible. I can't remember the lady's name, but one of the ladies mentioned that one of the organizations was on LinkedIn because they found that their funders are on LinkedIn as well, and they were able to connect with them. So if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, they're great ways in which for persons to get to know about you. And the more you're telling your story, the more other peoples will be attracted and connected to that. And of course, when you come to ask for funding, they can go on these platforms and see what you've done, see what you're about. And of course, in all of it, always highlight what makes you unique, what makes you stand out from any of the other social enterprises that are currently out there or organizations. So you should always highlight what you do better than anyone else. Share your passion, share what it was that made you create the business or go into that organization in the first place. Talk about it all the time, about your commitment to a cause or to your community. So these are tips in what you can use to build your brand on social media. And I would always say, go back to your roots. It's very important that you show and tell people. When I say show via videos. If you have videos, it's a great way to tell your story, or show via really high quality photos, and then tell them through stories, through editorials, through blogs, how you got started. Tell your story as often as possible, because everyone loves a good story. And the best way to connect with people is to start by telling a story that resonates and connects with them on a deeper level. I spoke about Oprah earlier on in my presentation, and I think what is outstanding about Oprah as a presenter compared to maybe other presenters is that she always wants to get to the heart, to the root, and to the core of what's behind the story so that she can connect with her audience on a deep level of why she feels motivated or empowered to share that particular story. So always tell your story. How do you get noticed on social media? Well, the key ways to do it is to make sure that you're interacting with your followers. As I said earlier, no point just having a social media account and you just have it there and you're not interacting. You need to interact with your followers. And you also need to follow similar social media posts, similar organizations, similar causes, similar projects to yours, so that they too can share and follow you, and some of their followers or some of their community and persons that's interested in what you're doing can follow you as well. That's a great way to do it. So interact and follow other like-minded organizations. Second one is to be more active on your social responses. So post more content. So as I keep repeating, don't just set up the social media post and post just one time a month or when you feel like it or when you have the time. If it's something that you're going to do, commit to it and post at least minimum of 3 times a week. If you can do it once a day, that's great. But if you don't have the time, at least 3 times a week. It keeps the engagement. It keeps things fresh. And if you don't have something to say, a nice picture with a nice motivational, phrase that links back to your organization is a great way to just get people to share it or to link it or to like it. Third way is also be seen on other platforms. Be visible on as many platforms as you want or as you're able to. So like I said to start off with free, but if you can have a LinkedIn account, by all means. If you can have a YouTube account, again, by all means. So be seen in as many platforms as possible and link with as many other organizations as well. And fourth one, I would say, write informative and engaging blogs or information. So blogs is a great way to tell your story. And also it may provide tips on, I don't know enough about your individual organization, but I don't know. Let's say, for example, I had an organization, you're running an organization and you're helping, let's say that it's a property organization. So separate to telling them about all of the property that's, that you're either trying to sell or you're renting, you can give, how can I say, safety tips. You can tell them about contracts and inventory management. You can tell them about all other stuff that's not related directly just to selling or renting a property, but give a wider sphere of the services that you offer, and sometimes for free, because it gets people to know about your organization, to visit your website, or to visit you on social media. And the fifth one, I would say, keep your customers delighted. Take your customers on the journey with you. Keep them up to date with the services or projects that you're doing. So as they say, tell them about the exciting project that's coming up. Let them know what you're working on, and let them get excited with you. And then when you actually do the project, take pictures and take videos and share that journey with them. And then once you've finished, share that again, telling them about the outcomes and how many persons you helped and all the rest of it. Keep them delighted, keep them on a journey with you. And six, and probably just as important, is create amazing content. We're in the era of smartphones, high quality videos, high quality pictures. You need to make sure that the content is of really high quality. So amaze your followers with great photos, great videos, and of course, great stories. And post as often as you can these great stories, these great videos, so that they keep coming back for more. And it all starts in building a great social media engagement with your community. It starts with good design. Good design is very important, and use it to entice your audience with stunning visuals. So I'm just giving you some examples here of what an eye-catching content can be, you understand? So start by creating content that connects with your customers, or community. Images, as I can't stress enough, needs to be of high resolution. So if you've got a smartphone, use that to take great pictures. And sometimes if you may not have the time to take a great picture, there's websites, and I put it here, it's called Unsplash. So if you can make a note of it, it's called Unsplash, and it's really great. You can go on it and you can get free, high resolution images that you can use. It could be people laughing or smiling, or the images could link in some way to your organization. Use them, it's free. And you can use Canva to put content on it and then share it with your community and your followers. But use this because it's a great way in which to be relevant and connected. Third one, I would say as well, is important that you adapt to the different platforms. So in the earlier discussions, we talked about, and this is why I wanted you to go into the breakout room, because I wanted not you just to hear it from me, but you to hear from other persons, the importance of knowing the difference between the audience that you would target on Facebook, and how that's different from the audience that you may target on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. So understand the difference. Social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook are perfect for companies that rely on selling products. So these are great social media platforms for your e-commerce. So even if you don't have a website yet with an e-commerce component to it, these two platforms are a great way to start selling a product or service that you may have. And it's a great way to test it as well, because persons will be able to tell you in real time what they think or what they don't think about a particular product and service by their likes, by their shares, and by you being able to capture that information. And use all of this feedback to gauge your audience tastes and preferences. Like I said, Twitter is a conversational platform, and it's a really great way to share things about your company, to provide additional information as well. Third one is to use social media until you build a website. The great thing about social media platforms is that the majority, if not all of them, are free. Do you understand? Whereas a website, you will need to invest some money either in a domain and in the hosting and the development of it. So use the social media platform, build a following, build a community first, and then at least that you can use that to drive traffic to your website. And if you don't have a website, there's lots of automated scheduling tools that are useful, such as Hootsuite and Buffer. And the good thing with Hootsuite and Buffer is that they allow you to have free trials, usually for a month or so, and then maybe about £10 or £20 that you pay afterwards. And the good thing with them is that rather than having to post individually on each how can I say, social media platforms. So rather than you having to post individually on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, by using Hootsuite or Buffer, or any of those scheduling platforms, you can individually upload the information on Hootsuite, but then it will populate to all of the channels. And you can also schedule it as well. So you can say, you would find out for a particular audience that, I don't know, say 2 o'clock in the afternoons is a time that they read most of these types of posts. Then you can schedule it to be for 2 o'clock, or you can schedule it for being in the morning. So these are a great way, these tools are a great way in which to manage your platform, social media platforms. And basically make the most of the internet. The great thing with social media platforms is that most of them, like I said, have automated features. There's analytical tools for reporting. So even with Google's, there's rich information that you can get that tells you, as I just mentioned earlier, when would be the best time to post, what's your demographic groups, how to target them. All of this information, you don't have to be wondering offhead. These tools provide that rich data for you. So how important is it to have a website? So your website, if you have one, is sitting amongst many other websites on the internet. A way to drive traffic to your website, as I've mentioned throughout this presentation, is to link it to your social media platforms. Build up your social media platforms first, because I feel that that's very important, and then drive traffic. And if you've done it the other way around, that's okay as well. Once you have a website, don't feel that you can sit back and persons are, or your community is going to come to you. You need to be able to link it in with some social media platforms as well. So where do you start if you don't have a website? So there's 3 options. There's many more, but 3 that I've narrowed it down to. So first, you can build your own. And the wonderful thing about building websites is that you don't have to know anything about coding or about HTML or whatever. You can use platforms such as WordPress, Wix, Squarespace to build your platform, to build your website. They're very easy to use. And I heard someone mention in the breakout session that they're from a traditional established organizations. And because of that, they predominantly use Facebook. And they realize that they need to bring on a younger crowd to make their organization more intergenerational, to be able to connect. And I would say that I think that's every organization needs to be passing on their skill to the next generation anyway. I think that's what makes Ubele unique. So it's very important that whatever your organization is and whatever you do, that you do attract and you do welcome younger persons into the fold that can help you with this. And if you're going to build your own website, my favorite is Wix. Wix is probably, of all of them, is a very easy website template. You can go into it, you can type in the theme that you want, and it gives you examples that you can then go in, you can change the pictures, you can change the colors. It's an excellent way to do it. And what I like about it is that you can build a website for free. You can take as long to build it as you want. They don't charge you. And when you're ready, you purchase your domain name that you probably get from GoDaddy, which is probably about £10 or whatever. And then you pay Wix then to host the website with that domain name. And if you don't have an e-commerce component or plugin on your website, it will cost you less than £80 to host each year. And if you do have an e-commerce component to it, it'll be just over £100. And what I've used, what I've learned, because I use Wix quite often, is that let's say that you've built your website, you've got your domain name, and you're about to go live. So you're about to host it, and then you change your mind or you hold off for a little while. Wix can track, they realize that you visited the site and that you haven't made a purchase. So they come back to you within a day or two and say, complete your transaction and get 50% off. And if you don't take that offer up by the end of the month, a little later, they'll come back with another offer. So if you're going down a Wix route, it's an excellent way to say, build your website, get somebody young to do it. It really is pretty straightforward. And once you've about to host it, hold it in the checkout box for a while, and then they'll come back to you with a huge discount that you can then use to upload your website and go live on the web. The other way would be to engage a web developer. So, okay, you don't have anyone young in your office or anyone that wants to take it on board, or you feel that there's other things that are more pressing than doing a website yourself, then you can engage a web developer to help you do it. And the good thing about it is that you can get a web developer that will help you build your e-commerce component, and also as well to build your site. And I'm not sure how many persons have heard of Fiverr. If you've heard of Fiverr, I'm going to give you later on more information on some of these resources and these sites. But Fiverr is a great website that you can get contractors. They call it the gig economy, and they would be able to either help you build your website or create photoshopped images for you to post on your website, or to help you with the branding. And again, it's an inexpensive way to do it. Third option would be to obviously get the services of an established company to build you a bespoke website from scratch. That tends to be a lot more expensive, and it can range anything from, I don't know, £2,000 to infinity, depending on how many features you want on it. But regardless of whether you're building your own website, you get in a developer in, or you go into a company, yeah, you can make sure that you can have blogs and make sure that you have all of the functionality and a connection with your social media accounts, that you're constantly driving traffic back to your website. So how do you create a bigger online presence? So as I said, start by creating your social media accounts, then build your website. Use companies such as Fiverr, as I mentioned earlier, to access all you need and to help with your social media accounts. Fiverr is excellent because they're competitively priced. And from this chart that I've said is that on this side, on the right-hand side of this chart, you should be having at least Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and your email marketing. And all of these activities are driving traffic back to your website, where you've obviously got much more information about your products and services. You can basically only give them tasters on these platforms, but certainly use the website to share more information.
Thank you, William. Can I ask you to hold on to that last slide?
Certainly.
If you wouldn't mind.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you for that.
Time. Okay.
Yeah, we've got about 8 minutes or so, and there are a few questions. In fact, the 2 questions was from Maggie, who has now had to leave. We'll follow that up, and one of her questions is a generic one, which is around Facebook, which asks, in terms of explaining, if you're aware, what it means when they give numbers like reached and following, etc. So I'm assuming it's part of their data, the statistics.
Okay, so there are 2 different things. So if I assume she's talking about, maybe because you can do some Facebook campaigns, and some are free and some are paid ads. So for the free ones, it's those persons within your community or within your followers, well, they don't call them followers in Facebook, within your friend circle, that's been able to actually see that advert, that YouTube, or that content. You understand? So let's say you've got a fan base of over 1,000, but the advert is only clicked on and read by maybe 100 persons. So in that case, that's what they're referring to. Yeah, as opposed to your followers, you may have 1,000 people following, but not all of them would have seen that content. and reacted to it. Yeah. Hope that helps. You're on mute. You're on mute. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
I'm waxing away lyrically and completely forget. So the question here is: are there anyone else picked up anything? I'm taken by this particular last slide in terms of driving sort of people to your website, and I just wondered, from previous conversations we've had online, does this seem to resonate with you in terms of what you want to do, challenges you're facing in getting traffic to your website? Any takers, any thoughts, any comments in terms of getting that 50% to work for you whilst William is with us? Okay, someone asked plug and play, and Deborah asked, please can you explain plug and play? So we'll take that question along.
In what context, though?
Deborah, you want to?
Yeah, unmute so I understand exactly what you mean and I can answer.
All right, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, just in case people don't understand what plug and play actually means, could you just give them could you just explain that, you know, what it means, you know?
Did I say plug and play or plug in?
Oh, it might be plug in and play, something like that. But you know, you mentioned it. You said that they could have one that costs up to £80 per year.
Fine. Okay. All right. So let me go back.
Thank you.
All right. So let me go back. So you're referring to this.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes,
okay.
that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Deborah. You're welcome. So, okay. So you can build a website and you can have a website that doesn't have an e-commerce component on it. So that means it just basically tells you about the company, it tells you about the founders, it tells you about the services and the products, and it's got a contact page, and that's about it. But there's no element on it in terms of buying and selling. So if you created a website like that, that's fine. But with Wix, you can then have what we call a plugin, which is another addition that allows you to now have the e-commerce component of it. And that's a secure plugin that allows you to take encrypted credit card details. It allows you to do your transactions online. It allows you to do all of those things. So that's what I mean by having a separate plugin. I hope that explains it.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. Light Up from BAHC asked, can you show us how to drive traffic to the website? Now I'm going to ask you to go back to that previous slide with the graphic. That's the one. Okay. And I presume the questioner is asking, how do we drive thing? Maybe you want to reiterate the point you were making around using Facebook and the others.
Okay. So let me I may have to quickly go back. So this little chart that I've shown you there is like, it depends on each company, you understand? So different organizations may find, like I said, that you may have more of a older demographic following. So in that case, you would spend more time on your Facebook, you understand, because you're connecting with the over 40 demographic age group. And so this may be 20% and Instagram would be only 10%, you understand? So it depends on the organization. There's no fast and set, there's no hard and fast rules in this. But I think the most important part, I'm going to go back. I think the most important bit, it starts here. How do you get noticed on Instagram? Sorry, on any of the social, is these: interact with your followers, be more active on your social responses, post at least 3 times a day, be seen on other platforms, write engaging content, have amazing pictures. These are things that allows you to stand out. And I went on to say you must have good designs. And there's websites that you can use like Unsplash, there's Fiverr. There's a plethora of free sites that you can go to get really good engaging pictures and content that you use. So the way you drive traffic to your organization is to do those things. But most importantly, on the simplest of ways is this: by telling your community and your followers about your company, or sorry, about your organization, about the amazing work you're doing, about your amazing team. Go back to your roots and always tell them, engage them with your story and how you came about. That's the first person. It's almost like, think of social media like this. If you go out and you met somebody in real life, in a real place, in a social gathering, persons that are engaging, persons that are interested are the ones that you're going to, within a crowded room, they're the ones that you're going to stop to talk to engage with. Persons that don't seem to have that ability to tell your story or to engage, you move on and you go somewhere else. So social media is no different from that. It's just on the internet. You need to have a story. You need to have something that you're sharing with them that gets people interested in what you're about.
Can I also add that? Could you go back to that last slide again, if you wouldn't mind?
This
now,
one.
Now that, oops, where is it?
Not this one.
No, not this one. The one with the companies that you went back to first.
All right, you tell me when.
That's the one. Oops,
oh.
That's the one.
Yes,
no, sorry, not this one. The one after
this
the one after that. About the purpose.
Oh, I know where that is. That's further up. I think that was before that.
Where are we? Before this. Before that's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah, this particular one. The reason why I'm asking William to go back to this one, because he's made a point that we've been making throughout these webinars, which is know your business. What is your purpose? What is your vision? And for those organizations that I've been working with, you will know that one of the things I've been talking about is, why are you in business? What is your purpose? What's that fundamental, short, snappy sort of visionary statement that in a way encapsulate what you're about? And I think this slide and this presentation sort of brings it to the fore. If we're talking about driving, this is going back to the questioner, we're driving thing, you could begin to see and understand that understanding the reason for being is the fundamental reason why people would want to know you.
True.
I couldn't put it any other clearer way. So this slide is a really good slide in terms of helping you to understand your website design and driving people there. Because if you're unclear about what you're about, I could guarantee your website is going to show that unclarity, lack of clarity. And therefore, if you're engaging with potential clients, you're going to be all over the place. And people nowadays, as we know, only got a span of maybe about a few seconds nowadays, as Tick-Tock is demonstrating. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful in terms of that question, Light Up.
And I apologize that I didn't have more time for questions. I'm sure there's lots of burning questions, but I'm going to say, Carl, if they have questions that they want to pose to me afterwards, I'm happy to, share more information with them. And before we go, because I'm conscious of the time, I know that you're going to share this presentation with them, but I've also added this little free resource panel at the end. And what's good about it is that it's got clickable links that gives you more information and what I've talked about. So for example, you've got a Google clickable link here. Oops, sorry. I don't think it's clickable on this. All right, it is, great. So you've got a Google clickable link here, and as you can see, it's taken you to Google Digital Garage, and it's got courses that teaches you more about fundamentals of digital marketing, how to get a business online. It's free. You understand? It really is a great resource place, how to promote your business online with online advertising. All of these, it's over 150 free courses for you to do. So I've put the clickable links in the presentations. I've put more information on Fiverr, on Hootsuite, and most of the key ones for MailChimp as well. So hopefully, if you've gone on there and you still need to ask Carl or myself, I'm more than willing to assist, help you and give that information to you.
Brilliant. Thank you, William. And we'll make sure that this goes out ASAP on the Ubele MEL England website, so you could download it. But